What is a man willing to do to save his marriage? I've thought about this question a lot. My wife meant absolutely everything to me. I loved and adored her and always did everything I could to ensure she felt comfortable and lacked for nothing. So, imagine my surprise when she told me she wanted to talk, only to tell me she was leaving me. As I stepped through the door, it was immediately evident that something was different. The place was immaculate, radiating cleanliness with the scent of pine cleaner and gleaming chrome, a stark departure from its usual state. Donna stood anxiously in the entryway, not dressed for a night out, but far from the disheveled appearance she had adopted recently. Her hair was elegantly styled, catching the light. The children were conspicuously absent, leaving the house silent without their usual commotion. Her troubled expression betrayed unease and guilt, reminding me of our earlier years. She had grown up with very little, relying on loans and hard work while studying. Even after we married, despite my stable income of nearly $50,000 a year, she was always cautious with money. Each purchase seemed to weigh on her conscience, prompting intense cleaning sprees as if she were punishing herself. It had taken years to help her overcome that tendency, but now, the house bore that same familiar appearance. Guilt hung heavily in the air. I had sensed this moment was coming, especially given recent events. My apprehensions had been validated just 2 days prior when a concerned acquaintance informed me they had seen Donna in a compromising situation with another man. Though devastated, I had begun preparing myself for what was to come. Now, it seemed that confrontation was unavoidable. "Allan," she began, her voice shaky. "We need to talk." There was no preamble, no gentle segue, she went straight to the point. Her urgency struck me as abrupt, and I felt the need to act before she could say something that might irreparably harm us. Shaking my head, I set my briefcase down and stepped toward her. "Later," I murmured softly. Donna's hands trembled as she wrung them together. Her face flushed, and her unease was palpable. "I can't take it anymore," she began again. Her voice broke, and I could see tears welling in her eyes. I placed a hand on her shoulder and guided her to sit down. "Take a breath," I urged gently. "Let's talk this through calmly." She looked up at me, her green eyes wide with fear and uncertainty. "I made lasagna," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Would you prefer wine or beer with dinner?" "Wine sounds perfect," I replied, offering her a small, reassuring smile. My hand lingered on hers for a moment. "Donna, I love you. More than anything in this world. I would do anything for you. Fight for you. Die for you. I would even do the unthinkable to keep you in my life. You mean that much to me." Her tears began to flow freely, and she nodded silently. I wrapped my arms around her, holding her close. "You look exhausted," I murmured. "Go freshen up. Take your time." Leading her to the master bedroom, I gently ushered her into the bathroom. Once the door clicked shut, I sprang into action. We needed space, a chance to be completely unreachable. In less than a minute, I disconnected the phone line and internet. Her purse was easily found in the kitchen. I retrieved her cell phone within minutes, set the ringer to vibrate, and slipped it into my pocket. With her still in the bathroom, I felt a sense of control settling over me. I changed out of my work clothes, hesitating for a moment before opting for Dockers and a tidy polo shirt instead of my usual loungewear. She had made an effort for me, so I reciprocated. Glancing at myself in the mirror above the dresser, I ran a brush through my hair. I heard the door creak open, catching sight of Donna peeking out anxiously before gathering her courage and stepping into the bedroom. She limped slightly as I approached with open arms. "Tonight got off to a rough start," I mentioned as I drew near, enveloping her in a hug. "Hey, sweetheart. I'm sorry for running a bit late. You look absolutely stunning." She returned the hug tentatively at first, then with a bit more assurance. "You were only a few minutes behind, and thanks for giving me a heads up." "The lasagna can wait," she murmured softly. "The kids?" I asked. I left them with my folks. I thought we could use some time alone, just us. I let her go and gently lifted her chin, planting a soft kiss on her lips. You're right. We both know things haven't been perfect lately, and I want to change that. Change? She asked, her tone tinged with anxiety. Absolutely, I reassured her, taking her hand and leading her back to the living room. I'm famished. Let's eat, and maybe after dinner, we can have a chat. Dinner was uncomfortable. We discussed the children and work but avoided delving into her personal life. The obvious issue in the air remained unaddressed. Despite sharing a bottle of wine, it remained mostly untouched by the end of the meal. Twice during dinner, her phone buzzed, but I chose to ignore it. After finishing, I cleared the plates, expressing gratitude for the meal and complimenting her cooking skills, though our conversation lacked depth. Offering to tidy up, I encouraged her to relax. Donna thanked me and disappeared into the kitchen. As I returned for more dishes, I found her standing by the table, looking uneasy with her purse, likely searching for her phone. I'll take care of the kitchen, darling. Just take your time. I need to use the restroom. I'll be back soon, she replied nervously. Once again, I noticed that guilty, nervous expression. She wouldn't stand a chance in a poker game. I suspected she was headed for the bedroom to retrieve her phone. She was about to be surprised. Retrieving her phone from my pocket, I checked the call log. Though it was password protected, I had already guessed her password, the last 4 digits of her social security number. The most recent call was from someone named Emily. As far as I knew, we didn't have any friends by that name. That I dialed the number, and a man answered anxiously after just one ring. Run, I said calmly. Run, if you know what's best for you. Don't look back. With that, I ended the call. A few seconds later, she walked into the living room looking pale. I approached her and led her back to the dining table, seating her at the end and placing her wine glass in front of her. There's something I need you to do for me before we talk, all right? I said. She nodded quietly, folding her hands in front of her to steady their trembling. I returned from the study a minute later and placed a piece of paper in front of her. I want you to read this, I said. Ponder it. Reflect on the words carefully. I'll return in 10 minutes. During that time, all I ask is for you to contemplate what this means to you. She glanced down at the paper, the very words she had spoken to me over 8 years ago. I, Donna, take you, Allan, to be my lawful wedded husband, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish, until death do us part. And with this ring, I thee wed. When I returned 10 minutes later, I saw her tears had blurred the ink on the paper. She looked up at me with apprehension. Come, I said, reaching out my hand. Let's sit in the living room. She followed me quietly. I knew the evening wasn't unfolding as she had anticipated. Donna was not one to yield easily, always ready to assert herself. Yet her subdued response spoke volumes about the impact of my words. I took a seat next to her on the sofa. Let me express my feelings about those words, darling, I began. I see them as a solemn agreement of the highest caliber. They're spoken after careful consideration and preparation, and sworn in the presence of God, our family, our friends, and each other. Do you agree? Yes, but, she murmured. Shoo, not yet. Your turn will come. To me, it's quite simple. There's only one way out of this agreement. Just one. It's clearly outlined. Can you tell me what the terms for exiting are? She fell silent, so I nudged her gently. Donna, what's the sole way out? Till death do us part, she whispered. Exactly. I understand that things haven't been perfect for nearly a year now. I'm not sure why. I'm willing to work on it, but I can't do it alone. I need to know, do you want to invoke your right to exit? No, she replied promptly. Are you sure? I'd hate to, but I'm willing to go through with it if you think it's necessary. Please, Allan, please don't, she pleaded, her voice wavering. It pained me to frighten her like this, but I believed it was crucial for our marriage's survival. Good. I can honestly say today that I've never violated that agreement. I love you and value you, even if I haven't always shown it as well as I could. Thankfully, it's mostly been for the better, for richer, and in good health. Wouldn't you agree? She nodded. Yes, mostly. I've been faithful to you completely since we made that commitment. I've never been with another woman. I may have been tempted and acted in ways I'm not proud of, but I've never been intimate with anyone but you. Can you say the same? I saw fear creep back into her eyes. She hesitated. I've done some things I regret, Allan. Some I'm ashamed of now. But I've never been with another man since I chose you. Do you believe me? I clasped her hand in mine. I do. If I believed otherwise, I might consider ending our agreement. Do you comprehend? She nodded nervously. I'm sorry, she murmured. I'd like to hear from you now, I said. What were your reflections while revisiting our agreement? What significance does it hold for you? It's challenging, she admitted. I understand. It's been challenging for me too, witnessing you willingly disregard it. Please, tell me. When I uttered those words, I meant them wholeheartedly. You were the best thing that ever happened to me, and I couldn't fathom life without you. I believe we had around 5 or 6 truly wonderful years, followed by a couple that were satisfactory but not quite the same. In the last 6 months, I forgot what truly mattered. I began to entertain the idea that perhaps life could be different. She paused, catching her breath. God, I'm so sorry, Allan. I don't know how those thoughts crept in, but I started envisioning a life without you. If you were unhappy, Donna, why didn't you confide in me? Work with me to improve our marriage, not undermine it. You need to realize there are only 2 individuals invested in our marriage, you and I. There will always be those seeking to undermine it for various reasons, jealousy, desire, anger, just to name a few. It's only you and me, working together as a team to defend it. I can't do it alone. I never considered it from that perspective, she remarked. Do you recall how we finalized this agreement? She offered me a sad smile. I do. It was beautiful. I can't believe I momentarily forgot. I'd like to reaffirm our agreement and finalize it once more. Would you be willing to do that with me? It's been nearly 5 weeks since our last reaffirmation. Has it been that long? 5 weeks as of tomorrow, the longest since we got married. I'm sorry, she whispered. Shoo, let's set that aside for now. Will you accompany me to our bedroom and finalize it once again? Do you still desire that after tonight? More than anything else in the world, I replied. She smiled. Could you give me a couple of minutes to prepare myself? Absolutely. Later, as we lay together, it was a moment of reconciliation and mutual understanding. She clung tightly to me, tears streaming down her face. Holding her in my arms, I apologized for letting the situation get out of hand, emphasizing her importance to me. She reciprocated, expressing love and regret for almost jeopardizing what we had built together, a fulfilling life and 2 wonderful children. She admitted her mistake and how close she had come to losing everything. I couldn't bear the thought of losing you, I confessed. That's why I intervened, to prevent anything irreversible. Can you forgive me? Her lips curled into a slight smile. Oh, I can't believe you dared to confront me like that. It still hurts, she muttered, concern evident on her face. Do I even want to know what would have happened if I had continued? I shook my head sadly, and she nodded in understanding. Thank you for giving us another chance. I gently stroked her hair. I love being with you, I confessed quietly. Me too. We should do this more often, she replied. I agree. I'm sorry for neglecting this, I admitted. What's going to happen next? She asked hesitantly. I've been thinking about it for a long time, I began. The relationship between a man and a woman is akin to a home. Some people choose apartments, short-term arrangements without much investment. A year later, they move on in search of something new. Marriages, on the other hand, are like houses. You invest in them, commit to them, and strive to make them your home. A strong marriage requires both partners to work hard to preserve, strengthen, and cherish it. I paused, gathering my thoughts. We once had a beautiful home, admired by our friends and family. But we neglected its maintenance, and it grew stale. For that, I take as much responsibility as you, perhaps even more. I regret that and will ensure it doesn't happen again. With that, I embraced her fully. At some point, external forces decided to sabotage our home, to divide us, to push you into another space. Whether it was an apartment, a condo, or a mansion, it wouldn't have been ours anymore. I'm not sure it was intentional, she murmured nervously. Maybe they just wanted to help improve my part. There's no your side or my side, I said firmly. It's our home. This wasn't some helpful handyman, it was a thief in the night, an intruder. Her face grew pale. What are you planning to do? She asked anxiously, trembling. I will protect our sanctuary. I'll make sure you never try to destroy it again. Can't we just move forward, Allan? I'll make sure it stops. No. I can't trust you yet. You betrayed us. You invited them in, you opened the gate. I'm going to seal it. Gerald, she whispered. Gerald Wheaton. I leaned closer, my face inches from hers. I'm upset with you, Donna. Very upset. None of this would have happened if you hadn't opened the door. You betrayed our marriage. You were disloyal, allowing someone else to intervene. It will take time before I can fully trust you again. Do you understand? She nodded anxiously. I never intended for it to happen. I'm sorry. You're forgiven, I said, gently stroking her cheek. Forgiven, but not forgotten, not yet. What are you going to do? She asked again, her voice trembling. First, I'll help you rebuild the walls here. I'm guarding the gate right now. Then I'll deal with the intruder. That's all you need to know. I hugged her close. If he gets near you, you chase him away. If he persists, call me. Do you understand? There won't be a second chance. Her eyes widened, fear evident. Yeah. Shouldn't I tell him it's over? There's no need for that. I've already done it, I said. Her eyes widened, and I could see the fear in them. Be careful, she whispered softly. I smiled, her words easing some of the tension between us. Have faith, I replied. It reminded me of the saying famously associated with Ronald Reagan's dealings with the Soviets, trust, but verify. Interestingly, the phrase was originally coined by Vladimir Lenin. I found it oddly amusing that it had become my new mantra. The conflict began on a Friday. By Saturday morning, we had reaffirmed our commitment, almost as if we had turned back time by 8 years. Almost. I entrusted Donna with fetching the children and opted out of attending Alana's soccer game for the first time that season. Time was of the essence, and I had work to do. It took less than an hour to install the software on her smartphone. The app wasn't cheap, costing over $100 for 6 months of access, but it gave me the ability to monitor her calls, texts, and even GPS location. I could remotely activate her phone's microphone to eavesdrop on conversations if necessary. For an additional $80, I gained access to her computer, emails, chat logs, web history, and a key logger. Spy tech had become surprisingly affordable and easy to use. A quick trip to the electronics store added more tools to my arsenal, a call recording device that connected to the phone line and logged all calls, complete with caller ID and durations, and a GPS tracker for her car. Although the tracker didn't offer live updates, it provided detailed travel logs that I could review later. Altogether, these tools cost a few $100s, far cheaper than hiring a private investigator or dealing with the financial and emotional toll of a divorce. When Donna returned from the game, the children excitedly updated me about their day while she prepared lunch. Afterward, I asked her to step aside for a private conversation that I handed her the phone. "I have your call history," I said firmly. "I want you to remove him from your contacts. No more hiding him under Emily. Who else have you confided in about this?" "It wasn't an affair," she began. "Don't lie, Donna," I interrupted. "I have no tolerance for that. Every lie, every deception, weakens the foundation of our marriage. Tell me the truth, who else knows?" She blushed, clearly uncomfortable. "Karen and Lisa." I exhaled heavily. "Donna, this is difficult. They're both part of this betrayal." "No," she said quickly. "Not Lisa." I swear she resisted me every step of the way. "Please, call her. She'll tell you the truth." I nodded reluctantly. "She's your sister, so I'll give her the benefit of the doubt and speak with her. But Karen is a different story. As far as I'm concerned, she's cut off completely. No more relationship." "No, Allan, you can't do that. She's been my best friend since college. I'll simplify this for you, Donna. You can end it, or I will. If I do, she'll be out of your life for good. If you do, there's a chance for reconciliation down the road, slim, but it's there. The choice is yours." "Why are you being so severe about this?" she asked, her voice rising with frustration. "This isn't like you. You're not this kind of person." Her words fueled my anger further. "This is the side of me you haven't seen," I replied coldly. "The business side. I've kept it separate because of how much I love you. But in business, I can be tough, even ruthless. I haven't achieved what I have by being soft. And right now, I'm taking charge of this situation. Things will be done my way. Any deviation will result in a complete breakdown. This marriage means everything to me, and I will use every resource I have to protect it." "You're frightening me, Allan," she murmured, her voice trembling. "Good," I said firmly. "Now, as I mentioned, end things with Karen. You have one chance to make that call. I never want to hear from her again. I'll know if you don't comply. Until you earn back my trust, I reserve the right to check your phone and emails at any time. To be fair, you can check mine too. I have nothing to hide." "And what about Lisa?" she asked quietly. "I'll handle Lisa. If things work out, she can remain your confidant. You can discuss everything with her, and I'll update you by the weekend. Where do we go from here, Allan? I feel like I've already lost you. You don't trust me, and you're monitoring me." "You're scaring me," Donna said, her voice trembling. "We communicate," I replied calmly. "We open up, address what went wrong, and strategize on how to mend it. We invest time in repairing the fracture in our relationship and rebuilding our foundation. Somewhere along the line, you lost respect for me. If respect is lacking, then fear will suffice for now. I'll dedicate considerable time and effort to earn back your respect, while you focus on rebuilding trust. This becomes our priority." "I never stopped respecting you," she countered. "Your actions suggest otherwise," I said firmly. "What if it's not enough?" she asked hesitantly. "That's not an option," I replied. "You don't want to know the consequences of breaching our agreement. I won't elaborate further. There won't be another opportunity." I didn't break it," she insisted. "You have to trust me. I may have considered it, but I wouldn't act while we're still married." "I understand. That's why we're giving this another shot. But I'm privy to more than you realize. How much? She inquired nervously. You'll never find out. A significant amount. Let's leave it at that. She nodded reluctantly. I appreciate that you intervened before it was too late. I later reached out to Lisa, Donna's older sister, for a candid conversation. Donna had confided in her, and Lisa had strongly opposed her actions. She admitted she had been close to informing me before things escalated too far. I asked Lisa to support Donna, acting as a confidant and helping her find her way back. Why didn't you just end it? Lisa asked. If she wanted out, why not just let her go? Because I love her. She's the mother of my kids. She made a mistake, and we caught it before it got worse. I'd rather fight for my marriage and my wife than let someone else take her from me. If I were to end it abruptly, it wouldn't be pretty. I don't believe in rewarding disloyalty or predatory behavior. I'll do whatever it takes to ensure she and the other person face consequences, severe ones, if necessary. You wouldn't hurt her, would you? Ask her, I replied calmly. She knows. Lisa hesitated, her voice softer now. I wouldn't want to be on your bad side, would I? No, you definitely wouldn't. But on the flip side, I'm fiercely loyal to those who support me. I can't thank you enough for trying to help. I owe you one. Let's work on fixing your marriage and call it even, Lisa said with a faint smile. I chuckled. Hardly. I'll owe you even more. I'm fine being indebted to you. Any assistance you can offer is appreciated. She's my little sister, Allan. I'll help, but if she fails, I won't be the one to break it to you. I understand, I said. Let's make sure she doesn't fail, okay? She nodded, and I felt reassured to have her support as an ally. The conversation with Karen's husband, Jerome, didn't unfold as smoothly. We met at a local bar, where I bought him a beer. What's up, Allan? You've never asked me out for a drink before, he remarked. Probably because this will be the first and last time, I replied. Your wife played a significant role in the mess my marriage is in. I've put a stop to it. She's no longer welcome in our lives in any capacity. Unfortunately, that extends to you as well. It's a shame, Jerome. I genuinely like you, but your wife has been deceitful. His face flushed with anger. Who do you think you are, insulting my wife like that? Donna was on the verge of making a mistake, and Karen pushed her toward it. Unlike your wife, I did some investigating. I have proof, and my wife admitted to it. Karen seems to think infidelity is acceptable. I vehemently disagree and won't allow anyone who condones it to remain in our lives. I felt it was only fair to inform you before cutting ties. What proof? He demanded. That's not your concern. Donna stopped before it went too far, but the person who tried to interfere will face consequences. So will anyone who aided him. Are you threatening me? He asked, his tone growing hostile. I sighed. Jerome, this is a courtesy. I've always respected you, so consider this a heads up. You have a limited window of opportunity to decide whether to distance yourself from her. I handed him a document. Here are some surveillance tools. Use them if you're curious or don't, it makes no difference to me. I rose from my seat, leaving a $20 bill on the counter. It's been a pleasure knowing you. If you choose to distance yourself from her, let me know. I'll do my best to shield you from any fallout. He stared at me, incredulous. I find that hard to believe. You know it's true. Verify it if you want. Meanwhile, I began rekindling the romance with my wife through small gestures, leaving notes, giving her flowers, and gifting her simple items of jewelry. We went out for dinner, and I made a point to compliment her and express my appreciation for her. Unknown to her, I had taken time off work but maintained my usual routine of leaving the house in the morning. I spent my time gathering information discreetly, including locating the man's residence and identifying his car. On Tuesday, I affixed the mail-order GPS tracker to his vehicle, opting for one with a subscription service for real-time tracking. By that evening, I was equipped with live updates of his movements, revealing not only his residence but also his workplace, routes, and activities. Discreetly, I also managed to plant a micro-recorder in his car, enabling me to eavesdrop on conversations and remotely activate the microphone. Later, using my wife's computer, I crafted an email to him, mirroring her previous communication style and language. Subject: "It's done, dear Jerry. I regret entertaining your advances. Please refrain from contacting me again. I am committed to my marriage and wish to mend it. Here are some memories in good faith. Though our time together was enjoyable, it's now in the past. Please, if you genuinely care for me, let's not complicate matters further, Donna." The attachment contained an executable file. When opened, it displayed a simple slideshow of 4 innocent pictures of my wife, nothing scandalous or incriminating. However, the program covertly installed monitoring software on his device, enabling me to retrieve his email archives, browsing history, passwords, and other valuable data. It was technically illegal, but another $80 well spent. By Wednesday, I dedicated my time to analyzing the data I had gathered. The findings, while troubling, weren't entirely unexpected. While Donna had erased her emails, this fool had retained every message. Over the course of 6 months, I witnessed his gradual manipulation of her emotions, skillfully winning her over while simultaneously undermining our relationship. He painted her as beautiful, sensual, and misunderstood while portraying me as cold, controlling, unaffectionate, and even unfaithful. He had masterfully inserted himself into her confidence. The circumstances of their meeting were infuriating. Karen had introduced him during a volunteer event at our church, of all places. What a despicable way to pick up women, especially within our congregation. Karen wasn't just a facilitator, she was the catalyst. She deserved consequences. As I delved further into his records, I uncovered more damning information. This man was a repeat offender. My wife wasn't his only target, he maintained contact with 2 former conquests and had set his sights on another woman. Despite being married with a child, he painted his wife as neglectful and unfeeling, tarnishing her reputation. I doubted she was aware of his behavior. With unfettered remote access to his computer, I pieced together a comprehensive profile of this predator. This was going to be straightforward. By Thursday, I spent part of my workday catching up on office matters, balancing my plans with maintaining a sense of normalcy at home. Donna woke up early and prepared breakfast for me. As we sat together, sipping coffee, I could see she had been reflecting on her actions. "I acted foolishly, Allan," she admitted, her voice heavy with regret. "I can't believe I let it happen. Looking back now, it feels like I was a different person. I dislike who I had become." I nodded in understanding. "You were manipulated by someone skilled at exploiting vulnerabilities. You weren't his first victim, and he's likely already moved on to his next target." She reached into her robe and handed me her phone. "He's been trying to reach out to me. When I ignored his calls and messages, he came to the house yesterday, demanding to talk to me. I had to confront him. I made it clear it was over and threatened to involve the police if he didn't leave." I returned her phone without glancing at it. "I know he was here yesterday. Thank you for letting me know. He won't be bothering you much longer." I had known about his visit through GPS tracking but chose to let her believe otherwise, maintaining the illusion of being all-seeing and all-knowing. "Please, refrain from acting recklessly, Allan. He isn't worth the trouble. I'll proceed cautiously. Just steer clear of him." "Now, tell me about your discussions with Karen and Lisa," I said, pretending to have prior knowledge. "I told Karen she nearly destroyed my marriage and that I would no longer have any involvement with her. She didn't take it well. I also reached out to our mutual friends and made it clear that if Karen is invited to any gatherings, I won't attend. I emphasized the importance of my marriage and how she put it at risk. I doubt we'll be seeing much of her anymore. Would you care to explain her role in introducing you to him? I asked calmly. You know, she exclaimed, surprised. Then she shook her head. Of course, you know. You always do. Why didn't you stop me, Allan? You should have intervened. No, Donna, I replied evenly. If I had intervened too early, you wouldn't have believed me. I had already lost your trust. You needed to realize for yourself that it was the wrong path. That was the only way I could have faith in you again, the only way to restore what we had. Unfortunately, you didn't come to that realization in time. I intervened only at the last moment, when your next move would have destroyed everything. I couldn't let that happen. I love you and our daughters too much to subject them to the consequences of what I would have been forced to do, I said. She appeared visibly upset. I apologize. I understand if you're tired of hearing it, she said. I swear I never anticipated this. He was simply a friend when I needed one, someone to confide in, to bounce ideas off of. He treated me well, empathized, of course he did, I interjected. He desired you, wanted to undermine me, steal you away, exploit you, and discard you, just like he's done with others. He aimed to dismantle our relationship. You're intelligent, Donna. How did you not see through it? I'm not sure, she faltered. He seemed so respectful, and Karen assured me I wasn't at fault. She said it's natural to have platonic male friends to gain different perspectives. Even when he first kissed me, it felt innocent, like kissing a relative. I don't know how it escalated. You opened the door, I insisted. The moment you shared personal moments and discussed our relationship, you invited him in. He thrived on those conversations, didn't he? She nodded reluctantly. But he was always supportive. He wanted to help me, strengthen our marriage, boost my self-esteem. I hope you've learned your lesson, Donna. You need to understand that strange men aren't looking for friendship or trying to help you. They want to take advantage of you. The more decent ones might try to possess you for themselves, but others, like your so-called friend, aim to exploit you and then discard you, finding satisfaction in the damage they leave behind. It was a painful awakening, she admitted quietly. It's still hard to accept. He seemed so kind. Enough about him and his accomplice, Karen, I said firmly. I'll deal with them. What about Lisa? We had 2 long conversations. She reprimanded me severely. She thinks I dodged a bullet, and I agree. She's a real friend. I underestimated her. I regret that I didn't make more of an effort to stay in touch with her. I'm glad she's become a part of your life, I replied. She looked worried. I want to ask you something, she said hesitantly. Of course. Feel free to ask about anything. I want us to have open communication. I have too much free time. I want to keep myself busy. Both children will be in school next semester, and I'm thinking about finding a job or doing volunteer work. That sounds like a great idea, I said warmly. Financial considerations shouldn't influence your decision, we don't need the money. Whether you decide to work, continue your education, or volunteer, I'll fully support you. You're smart, and I believe you'll succeed in whatever you choose. It would be a part-time job, preferably while the kids are at school. I don't want it to disrupt our routine. Great. If you need help with anything, job searches, referrals, resume writing, just let me know. She stood up and embraced me. You do love me, right? She asked softly. I would hope you wouldn't have to question that, darling. You mean everything to me. I'm sorry for starting to forget that. I'll make it up to you. You won't have to worry about me again, I promise. I understand. I'm partially to blame. I wasn't doing my part to keep our love alive and vibrant. I wasn't tending to our relationship as I should have. That's a mistake I won't repeat. I love you, Allan. Thank you. I love you too. That afternoon, I decided to enlist professional assistance. Though I had hoped to avoid it, the data I extracted from the individual's computer left me no choice. While it wasn't cheap, costing $2,000, the service was prompt. By Friday morning, I had the results and was prepared to act. Public libraries offer valuable resources. Their computers are free to use and often lack adequate protection. Within 20 minutes of settling in, I inserted a USB drive and installed an anonymous private VPN service. Conveniently, the individual had left his credit card information on his PC, which I used to cover my tracks. I sent emails exposing his indiscretions, complete with evidence of his past and present affairs, to the respective spouses. GPS locations and recorded conversations were shared to detail clandestine rendezvous. I also forwarded a comprehensive account of his ongoing affair to the husband, including details of previous infidelities and the date and time of their next meeting. One of his paramours was a former colleague, now at a different company. I ensured all relevant company email addresses received a detailed communication outlining his behavior. Additionally, I notified individuals in his email contacts about his character, attaching photographic evidence. It was a beginning. That evening, Donna dressed as I had asked, and we left the kids with her sister for the night. I took her out for dinner and dancing. Despite a few men asking her to dance, she declined, spending the evening with me. Overall, I thought we had a great time, though she seemed preoccupied. On the way home, she turned off the radio. "It's begun, hasn't it?" she asked. "It has. He must have called the house and my phone a dozen times. He left some unsettling messages. He's blaming me. I'm sorry. I'll ensure he stops. Hopefully, after this weekend, you won't hear from him again. Is it going to get messy?" "Likely, for him. I've tried to keep you out of it as much as possible." "God, I really messed up, didn't I?" "Yes, but it's in the past. Did you enjoy tonight?" She nodded, her hand gently stroking my shoulder. "I did. I should have mentioned it earlier, but it was bothering me. I couldn't stop thinking about it. Please, trust me. Don't hesitate to ask anything. At worst, I'll explain why I can't tell you. I believe our lack of communication over the past few years was our main problem. I understand. Things are better now, aren't they?" "I believe so. Improving, at least. We still have a long way to go, but it's getting better. We should have been doing this more often. Can we make it a weekly thing, time just for us?" "I don't see why not. I enjoy being alone with you." "Do you, truly?" she asked, her voice soft. "You need to stop doubting my love for you, Donna. I love you, always have. I won't ever stop. I may not have been great at showing it, and I regret that. I'll work on being better." "Are you going to prove it tonight?" she teased. "Again and again, if you'll let me." "Let you?" "I'll insist on it," she said with a playful smile. "Take me home, lover. I've been craving you since we left the house." That night, we lay entwined, content in each other's embrace. I held her close, feeling her arms tighten around mine. "I cherish this feeling," she murmured softly. "Same here." "Truly," I replied. She chuckled, shifting slightly to get closer. "Oh, I truly do," she said, her voice tinged with warmth. Then, after a pause, she spoke again. "I crave this, Allan. Our time together. The closeness after, the embrace, the snuggling. Sometimes a quick moment is fine, but we were losing this, the connection. It means as much to me as the physical intimacy." Her words struck a chord. She was right. We had fallen into a routine, letting intimacy become mechanical, something to check off a list before a quick kiss goodnight. "I'm sorry," I whispered. I didn't notice the gradual shift. "Now that you mention it, I feel ashamed I didn't. I was taking you for granted." "Me too," she admitted. "You've always been so wonderful to me, but I began to expect it rather than appreciate it. I've always loved you, but I think I was starting to see you differently. You were my husband, the provider, the father of my children, but not my lover and confidant anymore." She turned toward me, slipping a leg between mine and snuggling as close as possible. She kissed my neck gently. "We used to talk in bed about everything, our dreams, ambitions, fantasies. It was the most treasured part of our relationship. And then, it stopped. I can't even remember how or why, but it faded away." She held me tighter, and I realized she was crying. "Please don't let us lose it again." I pulled her closer, wrapping her in my arms. She seemed so small, so fragile. I kissed the top of her head. "Never again, sugar. I promise." She stayed in my embrace until she drifted off to sleep. Even then, I hesitated to let her go. It was an awakening for me, a stark glimpse into the decline of our relationship and its causes. I felt foolish. Just an extra 10 minutes of cuddling each night could have made such a difference. It was a time for connection, just the two of us, intimate and honest. I let it slip away once. Never again. Early the next morning, I left her a handwritten note before heading out. After checking the GPS tracker, I located the vehicle parked near a motel off the highway. Driving there, I braced myself for whatever scenario might unfold, hoping it wouldn't come to the worst. By 8:30 a.m., I was knocking on the motel room door. Gerald Wheaton opened it. He was a sizable man, someone many women might find attractive. Personally, he didn't appeal to me. "What do you want?" he demanded. "Stop contacting Donna immediately," I said firmly. "If I were you, I'd accept the consequences and leave town. If our paths cross again, you won't see me coming. I'll ensure you never interfere with my wife or any other woman again." "So, you're the one who set me up," he snarled. "I'll enjoy teaching you a lesson, and claiming your woman." I smirked, unimpressed. "Consider yourself warned. I've been lenient until now." I gestured subtly to the Ruger LC9 holstered at my side. "Back off and vanish. This is your final warning." Later that morning, I wasn't surprised when the police paid me a visit. They asked about my acquaintance with Gerald Wheaton and whether I had issued any threats. "I've heard of his involvement with several married women, including an advance toward my wife," I explained calmly. My intention was to urge him to stop. I have a recording of our conversation. At no point did I threaten him physically. I simply advised him to leave my wife alone, or I'd ensure he did. You didn't wield a weapon or threaten him with harm. I never displayed any weapon whatsoever. There were no threats from my end. In fact, the only threat made was by him. "Would it be possible for us to obtain a copy of this recording?" one of the officers asked. "Certainly. Please come inside, and I'll make a copy for you." Fate has a curious way of unfolding. I had other plans for dealing with Wheaton, but he made things simpler. That afternoon, he left a threatening voicemail on our home answering machine. His voice, full of rage, shouted, "You fools! You crossed the wrong person. I'm going to hunt you down and make you pay. You'd better be careful, because I'm coming for you and your daughter." What a fool. I couldn't fathom what Donna had ever seen in him, apart from his web of lies. Thankfully, I had a recording of that call and logs of his repeated attempts to contact us. I handed the recording to the officers. "He's made a threat against my 6-year-old daughter. I want this to stop. What can we do?" The senior officer nodded gravely. "If you could come to the station, we'll file a formal complaint." I'm certain the district attorney will take this case seriously. That evening, after the children were tucked in, I welcomed Jerome into our home. Hi, Jerome. I honestly didn't expect to see you so soon. She betrayed me, Allan, he said bluntly. I'm not certain to what extent or for how long, but my wife has been unfaithful. I apologize for the impact it's had on your marriage. Please, come in and have a seat. Can I offer you a drink? Scotch on the rocks. That would be perfect. I stepped into the laundry room, where Donna was folding clothes. Who was at the door? She asked. Jerome. He's discovered Karen's infidelity. Would you be so kind as to bring us 2 glasses of Johnny Walker Blue on the rocks? The blue? She asked, pausing. I believe it's the least I can do for him, considering I prompted him to investigate his wife's actions. She hesitated. How much does he know? I'm not certain. I'm hoping you can help clarify, I said calmly. But, Allan, what she told me was in strict confidence. She was my closest friend. Was being the operative word. 2 drinks, and maybe another for yourself if you'd like. Then, please join us. I'm not sure if I can. It wouldn't feel right. Would it feel any better than being with your boyfriend, Gerald? Losing your family, your children. Always looking over your shoulder. She shot me a fierce look, then cast her eyes downward in shame. You're not going to hold that against me forever, are you? Forgiven, but not forgotten, I replied firmly. It's about trust. If you're covering up for others, you're not far from your own transgressions. Silence implies consent, you understand that, right? Fine. Just give me a moment, okay, she said, clearly displeased but resolved. I trusted she would do what was necessary. Nearly 5 minutes passed before she rejoined us, drinks in hand. She distributed them, then settled into the chair across from us, taking a sip of her own. Jerome seemed surprised to see her. Hi, Donna. Sorry to intrude on your Saturday. No need to apologize, Jerome. I suppose I share some blame here. I haven't been much of a friend. Please, dear, tell him everything, I urged. How long, how often, how many, whatever you know. It's not good. Are you sure you want the details? She asked, turning to face Jerome. I don't want to, but I need to. Whatever you can share will help. She sighed, taking another sip. She's promiscuous. She doesn't admit it, but she is. We often joked about it, although I'm not proud of that. She was promiscuous in college and continued that way throughout your marriage. I don't think she's ever been in a committed relationship with anyone for more than a couple of months. Jerome's face tightened, his knuckles whitening around the glass as she continued. Even after you got married, at her bachelorette party, and again a week after you returned from your honeymoon. She had a few regular boyfriends she didn't want to leave. 2 of them stayed with her until they separated about 4 years ago. Then, it was a couple of times a week, often with both of them. Did she explain why? Jerome asked, his voice hoarse. She said she liked it that way. She enjoyed the excitement, the attention. And she told me she preferred partners who were well off. That's what she confided in me. But how? Jerome asked, clearly struggling. She's a stay-at-home mom. How did she even find the time? She has a lot of free time, Donna replied, her voice low. She always made sure to come home and clean up before you returned. On rare occasions, when you were out of town, she'd relax a little more. She loved sharing the stories with me, knowing I wouldn't tell anyone. After all, we were best friends. Jerome's jaw tightened as he tried to process the revelation. Did she ever try to involve you? I asked Donna. Of course, she did. For years, I kept reminding her that I was happily married and that I lived vicariously through her escapades. I didn't dwell on how wrong it was, it's just how she's always been. What's your plan, Jerome? I asked. I don't have many options, do I? First thing, I'll verify if the children are mine. They are, Donna interjected quickly. She might have her faults, but she's meticulous about that. She loves you, Jerome. Only you. This is going to crush her, he muttered. Not that it's doing me any favors. Do you think you could forgive her? Donna asked cautiously. Forgive her? For betraying me throughout our entire marriage? Clearly, I'm not enough for her, and that's not going to change. She says you're amazing in bed, Donna said gently. She appreciates everything you do for her. It's how she's wired. Maybe you could consider seeing a marriage counselor, or exploring an open relationship. That's enough, Donna, I interjected firmly. This is his decision. I turned back to Jerome. If there's any way we can assist, just let us know. I'll refrain from taking any action until you've made your decision. You don't deserve any of this. Jerome's eyes were bloodshot as he gazed into his drink. I feel like a fool. I truly believed our marriage was solid. She's an amazing mother and the most affectionate, attractive woman I've ever known. But maybe that's the issue, isn't it? I'm sorry you had to find out this way, I replied. It's not your fault, he said bitterly. I apologize for my cheating wife almost involving yours. He took another sip. Do you happen to know any good divorce lawyers? I shook my head. I can't help with that. Divorce isn't an option for me, it's not how I operate. I turned to Donna. Maybe you know someone. She blushed. I have a card, if you want it. I felt a twinge of annoyance. Why don't you fetch it, then? You probably won't ever need it. She nodded, looking embarrassed. Sorry. I'll be quick. Returning with the card, she handed it to Jerome. I got this from Karen. He's supposed to be excellent. You should call him before she does. Has she been with him? Jerome asked, his voice heavy with frustration. I'm not sure. I don't think so. Fantastic. Just great, he muttered, finishing his drink and placing the glass on the table. Sorry to disrupt. I'd say it's been enjoyable, but that would be a lie, wouldn't it? It's been eye-opening. Donna rose from her seat and embraced him. I'm truly sorry, Jerome. She genuinely loves you. She's still deeply in love with you, she's just broken. If you can find it in your heart, maybe you can mend things. I don't see how, he replied flatly. Thanks for the drink. Anytime, I offered. If you ever need someone to talk to, don't hesitate to call. Thanks. I'll remember that. As he left, I turned to my wife. Convenient, you keeping the business card of the top divorce attorney. She blushed again. I'm sorry. I never thought to discard it. Can we please put that behind us? It's all in the past, isn't it? I sank into my chair, taking a sip. Whatever. Your best friend was quite promiscuous, huh? She sat beside me, drawing near. Though I didn't feel particularly affectionate in that moment, I didn't pull away. I think she's a compulsive nymphomaniac. She had a passionate love life with Jerome, but it was never enough for her. She was always chasing the next thrill. I never imagined it would affect me. We were so different. For me, intimacy is about connection, it's important. I know, she replied softly. That's why I never truly gave up, even when I thought about leaving. We never discussed it. You claim you've never been in a close relationship, but I suspect it wasn't just hand-holding. Do you really need to know? I'll tell you everything, if you insist. I don't. I couldn't betray you while we were married. Believe it or not, I took my marriage vows seriously. Kisses, touches, caresses, I've done things I regret. I allowed him freedoms I never should have. I didn't love him. But you were ready to end our marriage, I reminded her. I thought I wanted something new, something different, she admitted. I let him convince me that I deserved it. Just a tentative breakup to sort myself out. It was misguided. It's hard to believe now that I ever entertained such thoughts. I don't understand what was going on in my head. Maybe I should have gone to a therapist. I don't even recognize the person I was becoming. She rested her head on my shoulder. I didn't open the door, it was unlocked, and I let him creep in, little by little, without realizing what he was doing. He erected small barriers between you and me with his subtle remarks. I never anticipated where it would lead. I'm so ashamed. You deserve better. I wrapped my arm around her, holding her close. I trust you won't let that happen again. It was the first time you were swayed by someone other than me. She nodded firmly. Never again. I've learned my lesson. If anyone tries that again, I'll see it coming a mile away. I lifted her chin and kissed her gently. Right now, I could use some strengthening of our bond. She smiled. The kids won't be gone for long. She climbed onto my lap, wrapping her arms around my neck. Her lips met mine. A quick moment for now. I'll make it up to you later. She kissed me again, grinning broadly. No way, I'm still the one who needs to make amends. That sounds good to me. Gerald faced charges, pleaded guilty, and received a suspended sentence, which I found far too lenient. He was issued a restraining order, requiring him to stay 1,000 feet away from my family. I kept tabs on him, even hiring a private investigator a couple of times. He went through a messy divorce and eventually ended up hospitalized. I wasn't the one who assaulted him, though I entertained the thought. Apparently, another husband didn't appreciate his infidelity either. I was questioned by the police but had a solid alibi, a dinner outing with Jill and her husband Roger, complete with witnesses and video evidence. The authorities didn't press further. Initially, I had desired personal revenge, but seeing the severity of his injuries, including broken ribs and bruised genitals, made me step back. As they say, revenge is a dish best served cold. Karen and Jerome have since separated. She's undergoing therapy, and they're both attending marriage counseling. I can't fathom how Jerome copes with the damage she inflicted on their relationship. I've postponed further retaliation against her for now. Losing her closest friend, most of their mutual friends, and a strain on her marriage have taken a toll on her. She's gained weight, and Jerome is covering the rent for her apartment. He's also bugged the place extensively. Jerome and I stay in regular contact, and he visits for dinner every other week. He makes sure Karen knows about these visits. According to him, she hasn't been involved with anyone since he served her divorce papers. Perhaps it was a wake-up call. He remains undecided about finalizing the divorce. Love seems to wield considerable influence. Whether it's her attempt to win him back or the medication her doctors prescribed, she's at least pretending to remain faithful. Personally, I doubt it will last. As for Donna and me, our marriage is stronger than ever. She's resolute in making amends, while I grapple with lingering trust issues. Though I refrain from confronting her about it, I still monitor her emails and GPS activity, albeit less frequently. I ensure thoroughness, refraining from hasty conclusions, and so far, all deviations have proven to be unfounded concerns. Donna's job at the Children's Hospital is fulfilling, and she excels in her role. It gives her financial independence without disrupting our lives. We prioritize our relationship with regular date nights, mindful of the close call we once faced. I fiercely defend our marriage, remaining unwaveringly committed. Expressing her significance to me is paramount, and we dedicate time to strengthening our bond. This approach is yielding positive results. Will I ever relinquish the need to monitor her? Perhaps, with time. For now, knowing her love, devotion, and fidelity is enough. We've even discussed expanding our family. At 31, Donna is enthusiastic about the idea. While the prospect doesn't resonate with me in the same way, I'm inclined to agree if it's what she desires. Having a son wouldn't bother me. I've also been considering ways to improve our house. Donna envisions a mansion, but I'm leaning toward a castle, with a 30-foot wall, 6 feet thick, complete with archer ports and pots of boiling oil on the ramparts to fend off potential invaders. Hopefully, we'll never need such defenses, but I'm prepared to protect our marriage if necessary. It's been 3 months since anyone heard from Gerald. Rumor has it he vanished after losing his job, his wife, and his reputation. I happen to know he never made it past the abandoned quarry 11 miles west of here. He should have heeded my warning about contacting Donna again. I was relieved to hear his ex-wife remarried within a year of their divorce. I dislike unintended consequences, but they seem to have found closure. As for Karen, time will tell. If Jerome takes her back and she truly changes, perhaps I'll forgive her transgressions. I've always had a soft spot for Jerome. If she doesn't change, I can wait.